Hello, Wellness Warriors. Today we are talking about fruit. I put up a video a little bit ago just going through why I've learned, or how I ended up learning about the dangers of fruit, fructose, what it does on the body. And I wanted to go through a few points with you guys this morning because it's still amazing to me how often I have people who are flabbergasted that I'm not eating fruit. I eat vegetables. I don't eat fruit. And when I say I don't eat fruit, just clarify. I don't eat sweet fruits. I do eat like your typical, what would I call it? Like avocado and olives. I think most people on a ketogenic lifestyle are aware that avocado and olives are healthier for us to eat. But I don't even go the route of eating, for example, berries like raspberries, blueberries, blackberries. I don't eat those, and there's an easy reason for that. So let's just start off by the fact that doctors and nutritionists have been telling us for years that fruit is healthy. And all of this around this idea that we need to get our antioxidants and phytonutrients and all kinds of things that we're supposed to get from fruits. That actually, first of all, any vitamins and minerals that we need to get, we can get from eating organ meats. But more importantly, the antioxidants that we get from vegetation isn't actually the best antioxidant for our body. So in fact, human or animal antioxidants are better for the body than fruits and vegetables antioxidants, so plant antioxidants. And so I want to make sure that everyone understands that although it's important for us to eat healthy foods, we need to be clear about what we're calling healthy foods. I just want to take a second right now to acknowledge that Pam is jamming, Francis Marks, and Dondi Sutaway have joined us in the live today. Thanks for joining, guys. We're talking more about fruit and things I've learned. So that's the first thing. And I find it really interesting that doctors will call fruit nature's candy, but then turn around and tell us that it's healthy for us. Like we all recognize that candy isn't healthy for our kids to eat, yet we will expect that nature's candy is going to be better. I don't know. It's funny that we label things certain ways and then we don't realize the irony of what we're saying. Now, I'm actually really happy that Dr. Fung redid his video on fructose. That's not the original video that I watched. The original video that I watched actually it was multiple videos, and it was the one just talking about fructose was an hour, I think, long, or like at least half an hour. So he had a series of videos that I watched at the beginning when I was trying to understand how food affects us. And it really did go in depth and the biochemistry and all the things that we should know about the foods we're eating, and helped me to understand that, again, fruit isn't actually healthy and I don't need to be torturing myself. Well, okay, let's be clear. Dr. Fung doesn't necessarily say that fruit isn't healthy. He says if we're going to eat it, we should eat it in small amounts, which kind of implies that it's not healthy, but he's not saying straight out it's not healthy. So I think one of the things that frustrates me is when doctors and scientists kind of pad what they're saying. I'm not padding this. If fructose is not healthy, then anything high in fructose, in my opinion, isn't healthy. The only reason I still eat avocado and olives is because they're so low in fructose. But even at that, I don't have olives and avocado every day. I have them probably, I would say, 2 to 3 times a week. So I might have avocado on 2 days, and then I might have olives on 2 days. So maybe but I'm not having every single day a fruit. I think one of the things I've learned is that no matter how small the amount of fructose, it's still, even if I have an avocado that's giving me a gram of fructose, that's still a gram of fructose that my liver is all by itself needing to manage. How are we trying to say that that's the healthiest thing for biology to do? So I do keep the amount of these things that I'm eating relatively low. Sometimes I can go weeks without having avocado. And the same thing for olives. And in which case I'll lean more heavily on salads and other vegetation. But again, it's like salad for sure is much lower. and the vegetation, again, being much lower. But we have to be careful. All vegetation has some level of fructose in it. And now that we know the way that fructose affects us, let's be careful. So I was really happy that he redid that video, because I think this new version of it is short and people can really just grab the information that they need and try to see how it fits their life. The first video, if you weren't science-minded, I don't think most people would have gotten through it. Now, the other thing I want to point out is how much sweeter fruit is today, and he talked about that, than years ago. We've genetically engineered, we've crossbred, we've done all kinds of things to make the fruits that we do eat so much more delicious than the fruit of yesteryear. In doing that, we need to understand that this is not necessarily what nature had intended for us. Another thing that I see so often is that we lean on this idea that what's natural is from nature. What we eat today is not actually what was originally there. And I could even go with it had these crossbreedings and mutations happen naturally, then maybe I would say, okay, they happen naturally, that's fine. But they didn't. We specifically went and found the sweetest of X to breed with the less sweet Y to make Y sweeter so that people would eat it. And because I made the apple sweeter, because I made the strawberries sweeter, plumper, bigger, because I did all of this, then my body is now managing so much more sugar, so much more fructose than it would have originally. We need to understand that that's reality. Now, we have vilified high fructose corn syrup. In the media, in the news, we're constantly being told, do not indulge in things that have high fructose corn syrup. And in one breath, they're telling us this is dangerous. But in another breath, they will have statements that are equally saying there's nothing wrong with having a soda once in a while. There's nothing wrong with eating foods. So all these snacky foods that absolutely contain high fructose corn syrup or derivatives of it or mutations of it. And so in one breath, they're saying we should really be careful about this, and then they hide it in our food. And I say they because companies are doing this, but we have a government that should be checking what's happening, and yet I'm very frustrated to see that it's not being checked. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that when we vilify high fructose corn syrup, then we act like if sugar is safe. And okay, I won't say they act like sugar is safe. There's a lot of stuff that says don't eat sugar as well. But then we act like fruit is safe. So let's look at the percentages. High fructose corn syrup can be 45 fructose, 55 glucose. Table sugar is 50-50. So is fruit. So we're vilifying the fructose and we're vilifying the sugar, but yet fruit is coming in at around the same. Now, in fairness, there's fiber and other things in fruit. It's really hard to eat a lot of fruit, like straight, because at some point you're going to get full from the fiber and the other pieces of the puzzle. But what happens when we make it into juice? So again, we're told to let our children, and I remember this. I remember when my daughter was young, feeling bad if I gave, and I didn't give her soda. I gave her juice instead because juice is healthy. It wasn't healthier. So we need to be careful because we think and we believe things that we're being told that don't make sense when you actually look at the data that we have to pass it beside. Because again, anything that's high in fructose, if my liver is the only thing that's going to manage that fructose, whether there's fiber there or other things there, if I allow myself to eat enough of that fruit and sugary things, we actually can get them down. That's the other thing that I find so interesting is I can be full. Well, back in the day when I was eating a standard Canadian diet, standard Caribbean diet, I was able to be full, but then if there was dessert available, like something sweet that I actually liked, somehow I could eat it. Well, if you actually like fruit, chances are, no matter how full you are, somehow you're going to make room for that fruit. Now, when we eat a lot of fruit, the bad thing that's happening is we're overloading our liver. And when we overload our liver, the bad thing that's happening is that we are creating a situation where our body's ability to do what it's supposed to do. So our liver, first of all, needs to detoxify us. And it's going to detoxify sugar. If that's the only toxin that's there, it's going to prioritize sugar. If we're drinking alcohol, if we're doing drugs, those other drugs will be prioritized above sugar, but then sugar will be attacked. Our liver is very efficient. And so it's going to do a really good job at solving the toxins in our body. But we need to understand that everything that we're doing and if we overload our liver, we're taking away from that natural lifespan of functionality that we would have had. And it's like the difference between buying a car and using it 3 times a week versus buying a car and having it on the road every day, 8 hours a day, nonstop. That car is going to burn out if it's on the road every day, 8 hours a day, versus the car that's going on the road, maybe even still 8 hours a day, but 3 times a week. We have no choice but to use our internals to clean up every single day, right? But if I'm overloading it, if I'm eating 6 times a day, high carb things, I'm pushing my liver to really work hard. And on top of that, I'm eating sometimes fructose, which my body doesn't have any use for. The only thing it's coming in to do is be cleaned out. That's me pushing my liver for no reason. And when we push our liver for no reason and we become insulin resistant, then metabolic issues show up, heart issues show up, cognitive issues show up. So many issues show up because we're pushing our body. As I said, I do eat olives and avocado, but when people ask me why don't I eat fruit or why don't I allow myself to have some sweet things sometimes, the answer is, if I know something's not good for me, why would I do it? Same way that when we know something's not good for our relationships with our friends or family or whoever, we don't do it. Right? If it's going to push my spouse away, I'm not going to do it. If it's going to push my best friend away, I'm not going to do it. Well, if eating fruit's going to harm my health, I'm not going to do it. And I encourage you guys to do the same. Let me know. Do you still eat fruit? I want to put it in the comments. I would like to know how many of you are not, I'm not counting olives, I'm not counting avocado, but I'm counting everything else. How many of you are still eating fruit? Wellness Warriors, I love having these interactions with you guys. I hope you're going to like, subscribe, and share this video so that more people can get this information, because it does help for people to see the information, and it helps the channel, of course. I want to thank you for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet. Mind Blowing Mondays. That's what we're calling this. I can't wait to talk to you guys again next week.